we are going live. Hey, it's Monday morning. It's Monday morning. Good morning, everybody. How we doing in here? How we doing in these stock market streets, even though the stock market's not quite open yet? Yes, it's Monday morning. A lot happens on Monday mornings. Everybody who's done all of their weekend studying, they've done their weekend preparations. They've looked at all their charts. They've done all the things that you should do on the weekends, and they're ready to rush into the market on Mondays. Okay. 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 So that's what happens on Monday mornings. People rush in on Monday mornings and they're ready to rock and roll. And as sellers, we let them come in, we let them rock, we let them roll, we let them do all the stuff they're going to do. And then we come in a little bit later and go, okay, well, now that you put all your money up onto the table, then we'll just, come alongside you, grab hold to those coins, and let it all decay. Let your theta decay. Let your hopes and dreams be dashed because that happens. There are a lot of people who are, and I won't say a lot. Yeah, there's a lot of people who have hopes and dreams that everything is going to go well on their trades, and by the end of the day, their hopes and dreams are dashed, and their trades end. Um, what's the word? Worthless. Now, when you're a seller, you want your things to end worthless. We want our trades to end worthless. But when you're a buyer, you don't want your stuff to be worthless when you're a buyer. No, you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't. And if you're like me, sometimes I'll put a little trade on and then forget that I turned on a little buy trade and then forget it. And then at the end of the day, if it didn't go in the money, you're like, well, there goes that little $20 because I'll forget that I even put it on, which is why I don't put a lot of money into buying or very little money, if any money, into buying because I'm not a buyer of options for all these reasons. Okay. Well, thank y'all for hanging out with me this morning. It's Monday. We're here to see what the pre-market has to offer to us this morning. Hey, Janae, look at you here, 8:20. I love it. Good morning. Good morning. Let's go ahead and get our stream going because I need to go teach in 20 minutes. Okay. And we're going to go share what we got to offer this morning and go on from there. Okay, the VIX this morning is at 17.43. Yep, that's at 754. So I probably should refresh this and see if we see any higher numbers or different numbers, not necessarily higher, but different numbers. Let's go look at Yahoo while that's resetting. Dollar setting is starting to look like a bubble. Relentless dollar selling is starting to look like a bubble, and like all bubbles, it will eventually pop. Trump tariffs are headed for another courtroom showdown. Showdown. EU scrambles to avert Trump's new 30% tariff. U.S. stock futures slip as tariff fears mount ahead of CPI. We've got CPI coming on tomorrow. Tomorrow. Gold price today, Monday, June. Gold open strong after new tariff threats. That's what's happening over there. Did the VIX get up a new number? Yep, we've got VIX at 1745 this morning. VIX is climbing a bit because of all the stuff that's happening inside of our pre-market. Y'all already know how this goes. The stocks making the biggest moves pre-market is Kenvu, Rivian, Affirm, Solar Edge Technologies, and more. Dow futures are down 112 points. S&P futures down 16. NASDAQ futures down 67. Oil is green. U.S. 10-year bonds are green. The stock futures are sliding based on these Trump tariff letters, which always happen to come on the weekends. Okay. What? You wait good till people got their stuff going anyway on the weekend. But are we off the worst levels of the session? Oh no, don't hit that. Ay, ay, ay. Okay, I'm gonna have to go back to that. I needed to see Europe and Asia, but the drop down box came. That ain't what I wanted. I want to see Europe. As far as our Forex calendar goes, we don't have anything that's set on the Forex calendar for today. Let me see if I can get Europe to open up here without a drop down happening. Move over, bacon. There we go. I want to go to Europe. There we go. Let me go to Europe. European markets head south after Trump slaps a 30% tariff on the EU. All those are green except for FTSE, which is up 34. And then, no, no, no. The drop down happens. You get too close up there, it hits the drop down. That's not what I want. Okay, Asia, we've got a mixed bag. ASX, Nikkei, and Nifty 50 are all red. Hang Seng and Shanghai are all green. Asia Pacific markets trade mixed as investors assess Trump's latest tariff threats. All right, we can look at gold. Gold, silver, and palladium are all green. Copper and platinum are red this morning. Safe haven demand lifts gold to a 3-week peak. Silver touches over 13-year high. Me and my son were talking about gold yesterday. Told him I don't care how bad times get, he need to hang on. He need to hang on to the gold. And if where his times get super tough, he need to holler at me before he take that gold to anybody else. My dad gave my son some gold, and my dad is 78, 79, something like that. And my dad has purchased gold over the course of his life because, that's something that older black men have always done, is to buy gold. And my dad has a pretty good little stockpile of it over time, and he's passed some of it on to my son. Of course, my son is treating it like a family heirloom that it is. And I'm like, okay, I don't care how bad your situations get, that right there need to be held on to. All right. Get rid of other stuff. Don't you get rid of that gold. So, and I'm definitely not. I'm going to declare no bad times over his life, though that he ain't gonna get to the point where he need to be getting rid of nothing. I'm declaring prosperity, health, and wealth over my son's life. I'm gonna speak it over his life every day, that he won't have bad times where he need to be getting rid of nothing. All right. Crypto. Bitcoin, Ethereum, everything's green over here in the crypto space. Bitcoin is now over 121,000. So it's surging. Bitcoin surpasses 120,000 to record highs ahead of the U.S. lawmakers' crypto week. Okay, so Lana's at 166, Ethereum 3,045, Dogecoin is over 20, XRP is 2.96. So the little bit I got, which is just that a little bit, but it's still growing on up. It is, again, it's a little bit, but I won't be left behind fully. I don't have a whole lot over there, but it's a little bit. I'm not a crypto investor like that, but I got a few pieces. Okay. As far as the calendar goes, on today, Monday, there's nothing set on the Forex Factory calendar. Tomorrow we do have CPI here, and we've got FOMC tomorrow. CPI will happen before the market opens. That's going to be, and then PPI will come on Wednesday. Okay, these are things that are coming this week, and then retail sales on Thursday. So this CPI and PPI are going to be important data points this week, because that's going to let us know what our inflation numbers are and what those are looking like. So even though the previous we had zero point 0.1 and the forecast is 0.3, even if we come in at 0.3 or greater than that, there's the market's definitely going to see those things probably as not good, and those may be bearish responses. So we'll keep that in mind. All right. Hey, Tanya, and hey, Selena. Good morning, everybody. Okay. Let's see what we got over here. Shut off some stuff. It'll speed up the computer. Okay. Let's go over to Adam next. Okay, tariff headlines gave us a needed volatility over the weekend in SPX, but levels are respecting well. 62.19 and 62.21 was the 1 week triangle support as posted, and it's held exact. 62.40 was first up, and SPX agrees, been here for 3 hours. Plan today. 62.35, 62.40 is support. It's been tested. 62.45, 56, 62.69 if SPX wants more. And we will dip if it goes below 62.19 and 21. Put these levels on your chart. 62.19, 62.21 is the support area. Support is 62.35 to 40. That's your support area. It could go down to 62.19 and 21. And if it goes below that, it could continue to dip. The gap between ES and SPX, if you're looking at Adam's numbers on Twitter or on X, It's about a 42-point gap between what he's posting and what SPX is. All right. Good morning, Iola. So you should know that those two, there's a gap of 42 between them. Make sure you are subtracting 42 when you're doing that. So that way you can keep up with the difference. Put those numbers on your chart to make sure that you can keep up with what he's saying and in conjunction with what's going on. Okay. Okay, okay. I see a thumb up that just showed up. Great job. XSP range is from 621 to 627. If it gets below 621, it's going to keep dipping. Okay, so just put that on your charts. Put that on your charts. Put that on your charts. Okay, okay, okay. I talked a little bit about how our trades list went last week. We had an 88% win rate, and even the two that were breached were only partially breached and would have still remained profitable even if they you went to expiration, they still would have remained profitable. Okay, I want to go back to the chart. I was just talking about that. Let me go on back to the chart after I mentioned Adam. Right, 6242 is where SPX currently is. I was just saying what 62.35 to 40 was support. 62.35, which is where it came right down here basically and did a hit. This is SPX 500 we can look at on TradingView. It came right down into this zone 62.35 and crisscross. Okay. And it went right on up. So this is what he was saying was 35 to 40 is support. But if it gets down to 19 to 21, then it could go a little lower. 60 SPX 500 is where you can look at SPX if you can't see, because we cannot see SPX in the pre-market, but you see 6219 is another place that Adam will call it. I'm telling you, that man, I'm gonna almost call him a boy, but I know, I'm pretty sure he's a man, but his numbers are pretty sound. That's why I give you all the gap between SPX and ES, because he calls those ES numbers really well. He puts out a newsletter. He puts out a newsletter every day, and there's a monthly fee for the newsletter. It is quite comprehensive. His newsletter is about the ES, right? So if you're trading ES futures, his newsletter is about the ES, quite comprehensive. It ain't no cheap piece of paper, but it's got what you need in it if you're trading ES futures, okay? Um and he also is on Twitter, which he says his tweets are for his own records, but it's good information, okay? But this is SPX 500 is currently at 62.39, so it's kind of dancing around in that support area that he was just saying. And after this support area, the next spot going upwards, 62.46, 62.56, 62.69. Okay, 62.46, 62.56, and 62.69. Those are the ones, that's what he wrote, our potential numbers. This is right here in the middle. I'm not sure if y'all can see my mouse when I put this on the screen. Probably not. I can see my mouse, doesn't mean you can. 62.35 and 40, 35 to 40 is support. And then you got levels 62, 46, 56, and 69. Okay, 62.19 if it dips. Dip, baby, dip. Okay, okay, okay. All right, there we go with that. I went back to the chart. I want to go back to those. Let me close this off so I can go back to the charts. Add to the stage. Add to the stage. Let's talk about earnings before I go to the charts. This morning we had Fastenal had earnings this morning. After market closes, you will have Simulations Plus, First Bank, and Equity Bank shares. Tomorrow morning, you're going to have JP Morgan Chase, Citibank, BlackRock, Wells Fargo, State Street, BNY, Ericsson, Angio Dynamics, and Albertsons. Tomorrow after close, JB Hunt, Hancock, Omnicom Group, WAFD Bank, Fulton Financial, Kestra, and Pinnacle. We've got semiconductors this week, Johnson and Johnson, Goldman Sachs. We got several banks that are happening this week. Netflix has earnings on Thursday. We see here Netflix is going to have earnings. Abbott Labs is going to have earnings on Thursday morning before the market opens. 3M here, Interactive Brokers. So now, one thing we're going to be listening for this week, or you should be listening for this week, is what are the bank leaders going to be saying. So it's not just what the earnings, what are the earnings reports going to be saying, but what are the leaders of the banks going to be saying. All right, especially if these big banks, you're going to be listening for some words, and not the double speak kind of words, but what are the bank leaders, the bank presidents, when they're doing their little talk after their, press conferences, what are they actually saying? Okay, that's going to give us insight into where the economy and what we're looking at as far as the finances go. All right, so y'all keep that in mind. So now, what we're listening for, I don't know, but you're listening. I do know, but you're going to be able to tell what are they saying. Is there a theme that's being passed along? Because of course their talks are going to be a little scripted, and they don't never tell us everything that needs to be told to us. But there's always some signs ahead of time, and sometimes we're left to read between the lines. All right, read between them. Netflix got earnings, so Janae, I know you're listening. Netflix got earnings. We know we're at all-time high, and because we're at all-time highs, depending on what's said and what's done this week, could make us go. "Sure." You just keep an eye. We just keep an eye on what's going on. Okay, okay. Those CPI numbers, these earnings, all this stuff with the tariffs. There's a lot happening right now. Oh my goodness! But what do we do in here? We trade what we see in these parts. Yes, we do. We trade what we see in these parts. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Okay. That was earnings I wanted to cover, and I did that. Okay. Let me go back to these charts and talk about what's happening in the pre-market. Pre-market. Okay. SPY closed on Friday at 623.60. It is currently at 622.02. So there is a gap down open of about $1.50, 60 cents. That's where SPY is right now. But SPY also closed on Friday with the failed two down. So that was going to show a little bit, maybe a little bit of recovery, but potentially you'll see what happened today, and that's what you'll look at. Triple Q closed on Friday at 554.19. It's currently at 552.85. Again, another dollar and a half about roughly there. IWM closed on Friday at 221.70. It is currently at 220.95. So a little bit less than a dollar. 70 to 2, yeah, a little bit less than a dollar is where it's a bit of a gap down, less than a dollar. We still have about 45, 50 minutes left before the market open, almost an hour, 55 minutes before the market opens. So there's still time for it to recover. But just at this point, we are all the equities, all the indices are not equities, all the indices are lower than what they were at Friday close. All righty. And again, let the market open. Let the market open. Don't be rushing in there at 9:30 unless you got a good scalping strategy. Don't be rushing in there. What we do as sellers is we just watch. We see what they doing. We watch and see a minute. Let the dust settle. Let everybody rush in. You know when it's all a bunch of all this going on, you can't see. You can't see. So you let all that happen, and then the dust settles, and when the dust settles, I can see clearly now. Once you can see, you can decide what to do. But if you rush in there when you can't see, come on, you're going to end up running into something. That ain't what we're after. We ain't trying to run into nothing. We ain't trying to run into nothing. All right. So, but did I show y'all all that stuff? Did y'all see those charts? Was I showing y'all charts or no? I hope y'all could see the charts. I was talking about it. but could y'all see them? I hope so. I hope y'all could see the charts. I hope I didn't just take them off the screen and then didn't show you. Okay, well, I'm gonna keep going because I need to. Okay, this is the Tanya said no. Okay, well, I guess y'all have to hear what I said. I'm sorry, I looked back and saw myself. It's like, I don't think I had no charts up here. We're looking at you. Well, hey. Wasn't nothing important to see on the charts besides me telling the numbers. So I can run through them. Why don't we do that? Let me run through them one more time. So that way people can feel like they saw. You see what I see? Okay, this is IWM. We'll go backwards. This is IWM. So you can actually see what I see because I know I'm visual. Because I'm visual, other people are too. Here's IWM. This is where IWM closed on Friday. And this is where it is right now, right? Closed in the 221 area, and now it's at 220. All right, that's IWM. It's down about a dollar. Triple Q, very similar looking chart. It's down about $1.50. Support is like 551.99. Same thing. Tanya said we looking at you. Yes, yes, yes. Okay. I love my folks. I promise I love my people. Okay. And then here's SPY. SPY is also down about $1.50. Got a gap down open at this point if it doesn't fill this gap that was created by the pre-market, which it may come on back and fill that gap. We have to wait and see. Wait and see. All right. That was the gap. That was the support area for the gap. And that's what SPY looked like. Sorry, y'all. I just, talking away and busy showing how the dust needs to settle. This is the list of trades for the week. Uh, for Johnson and Johnson and JP Morgan, they do have earnings this week, so we do need to get out of those before Tuesday. I think JP Morgan has earnings tomorrow, and Johnson and Johnson has it on Tuesday. Yeah, JP Morgan is tomorrow, so I need to close my JP Morgan today. No matter what goes on, JP Morgan has to be closed today. And Johnson and Johnson has earnings Wednesday morning, so I need to make sure that's closed on Tuesday. Besides that, everything else on here, none of those have earnings for this week. AMD is probably going to be affected by ASML, and Taiwan Semiconductors have earnings this week. So I may have to be mindful of that one as well. Okay, but this is the trades list for the week. Again, I do run my trades list through Peakbot. Peakbot does this one for me. It Yep, change, 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 change. Okay, I run mine through Peakbot automated. It enters the trades for me on Fridays or Mondays, whichever day, because it'll enter on Fridays and Mondays, even Tuesdays, depending on when it's a good time, and exit when it's appropriate. So along the bottom of the screen and here on the screen, you can see the link. If you want to have automated trading through Peakbot, go ahead, sign up using my link. You'll get a discount. You'll get a 25% discount if you use my link there on Peakbot. Listen, they're my dudes. First of all, I know the dudes, and I use this product. You see, is I'm not pushing something that I don't actually use. I love the fact that I don't have to be trying to enter all these different trades on my own, but I can still get the benefit of weekly credit spreads. All right. I still like that. And I can still let some of my monies go to work for me, and I can do it all automated. All righty. What is next? E2T University is starting in the middle of next month. E2T University is starting in the middle of next month. Let me see if I can type in this link, make it clickable. HTTPS. Nope. www. I'm gonna try to type it. www. subscribepage.com/E2T wait list. At this point, you can get on the wait list so you can make sure you don't miss any of the information. But it is a full 12-week teaching of how do we start with stocks and options, and we go through how to use indicators, how do we have our strategies, how do we learn these strategies, how do we use weekly and daily strategies to make money. How do we manage our portfolio? How do we manage our mind? How do we manage our risk? And how do we make some of this money that you see us making on the regular basis? You can sit around and watch people do, or you can jump into the water and start swimming for yourself. And you don't have to be swimming alone, right? There's people who are here who can swim along with you, who can guide you and make sure you don't drown out here in this stock market, in these stock market streets, because there are people drowning. All right. And it don't have to be you. It don't have to be you. I'm here to help educate you. And I have a community of people who are here to help educate you. You don't have to do this alone. All right. E2T University coming real soon. All righty. Coming in the middle of August. All righty. All righty. There we go with that. The membership is running SPX. We trade it every single day. Every single day, 147 a month. When you see me posting, I think I put it in our email yesterday. You see me posting about it. This is what we do every day, all day long. This is what we do. All right, let me go ahead and wrap this up. E2T Traders Declaration. I declare I'm a great trader, a successful trader, and a focused trader. I declare my wins exceed my losses. My account is growing steadily. I'm a wise and knowledgeable trader. I have a strategy that I use for my trades. I don't randomly place trades. I'm a level-headed trader who trades my plan and not my emotions. Lord, it's you who gives us the power to get wealth. Help us today to trade our strategy with wisdom and knowledge. Allow us to prosper enough to have what we need and enough to bless others. In Jesus' name, amen. 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 All right. I believe I've covered everything that needed to be covered this here morning in our live pre-market prep. All right. We've talked about our meetings. We've talked about the VIX. We've talked about what earnings are coming up. I've told you to wait and let the dust settle before you jump in. Yes, I've given you some numbers that you can put on your chart for how we manage SPX. If you're with me in my community, you have what you need to make sure that we can trade together during the day, because you have me in our Telegram. You have access to me, which is always a good thing. Access to me is always a good thing. All right. All righty. All righty. Okay, everyone. I want you to stay green. I want you to get this money, and I want you to have a great green day. All right. Goodbye, everyone. Bye bye.